The Mafia boss found a single mom and her son hiding behind his mansion, running from dangerous men. He should have walked away. But when he discovered what her late husband had hidden in the child's toy, walking away stopped being an option. The bullet had missed Dante Moretti's head by 3 inches. He could still feel the heat of it as he stepped out of the armored SUV, his jaw clenched so tight his teeth ached. Someone had tried to kill him tonight, in his own restaurant, at his own table, while he was cutting into a $30 steak. The disrespect burned worse than the close call. "Sweep every inch of this property," Dante ordered, his voice cold and sharp as winter steel. "If a rat breathed on my lawn, I want to know about it." His guards scattered across the Moretti estate like shadows, their flashlight beams cutting through the darkness. The mansion loomed behind him, all stone and iron, built like a fortress because that's exactly what it was. 20-foot walls, security cameras on every corner, guard dogs that could smell fear from 50 yards away. Yet someone had gotten close enough to put a gun to his head. Dante loosened his tie, the silk stained with another man's blood. The would-be assassin who'd made the mistake of missing. His knuckles were split and raw. He flexed his fingers, welcoming the pain. Pain meant he was still alive. "Boss." One of his men, Vincent, came running from the eastern side of the property. "We found something. Back by the tool shed." Dante's hand instinctively moved to the gun at his hip. "Vargas's men?"
"No, sir."
"You need to see this yourself." They walked through the manicured garden, past the fountain that cost more than most people's houses, toward the old tool shed near the back wall. Dante had been meaning to tear it down for years. Now he was glad he hadn't. 2 of his guards stood with their weapons drawn, flashlights pointed at the ground behind the shed. That's when Dante saw them. A woman and a boy, huddled together in the dirt like frightened animals. The woman held the child close, her body curved around him protectively. She was thin, too thin. Her clothes were torn and filthy, hanging off her frame like rags. The boy couldn't have been more than 6 or 7, his face buried in his mother's shoulder. But it was the woman's eyes that stopped Dante cold. They weren't the eyes of a threat. They were the eyes of someone who'd already lost everything and was now staring at the last chapter of a very short, very brutal story. "Please," she whispered, her voice cracking. "Please don't hurt my son." Dante raised his hand, and his guards lowered their weapons. He crouched down slowly, the way you might approach a wounded deer. Up close, he could see the bruises on her arms, the cut above her eyebrow that had scabbed over badly. The boy was shaking. "How long have you been here?" Dante asked.
2 days, she said.
"Maybe 3. I lost track." 2 days, Dante's voice was quiet, dangerous. "You've been hiding on my property for 2 days, and my security didn't find you." She flinched. "We didn't steal anything. We didn't touch anything. We needed somewhere to hide." "From what?" The woman's grip on her son tightened. "From men who want to kill us." Dante studied her face. She wasn't lying. He'd seen enough liars to know the difference. Fear like that couldn't be faked. Neither could the desperation in her eyes or the way her hands trembled as she held her son. "What's your name?" "Mia," she swallowed hard.
"Mia Chen."
"This is Noah." "Who's after you, Mia Chen?" She hesitated, and in that moment, Dante saw something flicker across her face. Recognition. She'd seen something tonight, heard something, maybe, that had terrified her even more than being discovered. "I don't know their names," she said quickly. "They came to our apartment 4 days ago. Destroyed everything. They kept asking where David hid it. They thought I knew. But David's dead. He's been dead for 2 months, and I don't know what they're talking about." "David." The name hung in the air between them. "David who?" "David Chun. My husband," her voice broke. "He worked at a shipping company downtown. That's all I know. He never told me anything about his job. Never brought it home. And now these men." She stopped, her breath hitching. "They killed our neighbors. Shot them right in front of their apartment for not telling them where we went. We ran. We've been running ever since." Dante's mind was already working, connecting dots that were starting to form a very ugly picture. A shipping company. Men asking questions. A dead husband who never brought work home. He knew exactly what that meant. Describe these men. Mia closed her eyes, and Dante could see her forcing herself to remember. Tattoos. Foreign tattoos. I think they were Chinese characters. The leader had a scar across his throat. He wore gold rings on every finger. Dante's blood went cold. Chun family enforcers. Vargas's new partners. The same people who'd just tried to put a bullet in his brain. Get up, Dante said, standing. When Mia didn't move, he added more gently, I'm not going to hurt you, but you can't stay out here. Come inside. Why? Mia's voice was small, broken. So you can call them? Trade us for whatever deal you're making? Dante looked at her, really looked at her. This woman had been living in the dirt behind his tool shed for 2 days, starving, protecting her son with nothing but her own body. She'd watched her neighbors die, lost her husband, had her entire life torn apart. And she still had the spine to question him. If I wanted you dead, Mrs. Chun, you'd already be dead, he held out his hand. Now get up. Both of you. You're coming inside, and you're going to tell me everything. Every detail about your husband, those men, and what they think he took. Mia stared at his hand like it might be a trap. Then slowly she took it. Her skin was ice cold. As Dante pulled her to her feet, the boy, Noah, peeked out from behind his mother. He was clutching something against his chest, holding it so tightly his knuckles were white. A teddy bear, brown and worn, with one eye missing. For some reason, that detail stuck with Dante as they walked toward the mansion. A kid holding onto a stuffed animal like it was the only solid thing left in a world that had gone completely insane.
He knew the feeling.
The kitchen was bigger than Mia's entire apartment had been. She sat at the marble island, her hands wrapped around a mug of hot soup she couldn't bring herself to drink. Noah was beside her, finally eating, tearing into a sandwich like he hadn't seen food in days. Because he hadn't. Dante Moretti stood across from them, his arms crossed, watching them with eyes that missed nothing. 2 of his guards flanked the doorway. Escape wasn't an option, even if Mia had the strength to try. Start from the beginning, Dante said. Your husband. What did he really do?
Mia esse throat tightened.
I told you. He worked at Pacific Imports, a shipping company near the docks. Doing what? Logistics. Paperwork. Scheduling. The words sounded hollow, even to her own ears. She told herself that story for 3 years. Believed it because believing anything else meant admitting her marriage was built on lies. Dante's expression didn't change. Mrs. Chun, I'm going to be very clear with you. The men who came to your apartment, the ones with the tattoos and gold rings, don't hunt down logistics managers. They hunt people who've stolen from them, betrayed them, people who know things that could get them killed. David wasn't like that, but even as she said it, Mia felt the doubt creeping in. The late nights. The cash David sometimes brought home in envelopes. The way he'd started drinking more, sleeping less, jumping at every unexpected sound. Your husband is dead, Dante said flatly. These men killed him, didn't they? Mia's hands trembled. The police said it was a mugging. Wrong place, wrong time. The police were paid to say that. The words hit her like a slap. Noah stopped eating, sensing the tension. Mia pulled him closer, her heart pounding. What do you mean? Dante moved around the island, closing the distance between them. When he spoke again, his voice was lower, more dangerous. I mean, your husband wasn't killed randomly. He was executed. And the men who did it are now tearing this city apart looking for something he took before he died. Something valuable enough to justify killing an entire family over. I don't have anything. Mia's voice cracked. They destroyed our apartment. Took everything. If David hid something, I don't know where, then why are you still alive? The question stopped her cold. Dante leaned against the counter, his dark eyes boring into hers. Think about it. They killed your neighbors for not knowing where you went. They've clearly got resources. Money. Connections. If they really believed you had nothing, you'd be dead already. So, either they think you're still useful or… He paused, his gaze shifting to Noah. Or they think the kid knows something. He's 6 years old. Mia pulled Noah tighter, rage flooding through her exhaustion. He doesn't know anything about David's work. Maybe not consciously, Dante straightened. But kids see things. Hear things. Your husband might have said something, shown him something, without realizing it mattered. Mia looked down at Noah, who was staring at his sandwich like it might have answers. Had David said something? She tried to remember the last normal conversation they'd had as a family. It felt like a lifetime ago. I need to know exactly what happened the day they came, Dante said. Every detail. Mia closed her eyes, forcing herself back to that morning. We were home. Noah was playing in the living room. I was doing laundry. Then the door just exploded. They didn't knock. Didn't shout. Just kicked it in. How many?
4.
Maybe 5 inch. The memories came in fragments, sharp and painful. The one with the scar, he grabbed me. Asked where David kept his files. His insurance, he called it. I told him David was dead. He laughed. Dante's jaw tightened. What else did he say? He said David had been smart. Too smart. Said he'd smuggled something out before they could stop him, and now we were going to pay for it. Mia's voice dropped to a whisper. He put his gun to Noah's head. The kitchen went silent except for the hum of the refrigerator. That's when I told him about the storage unit, Mia continued. We had one across town. I gave him the key, told him everything was there. It was a lie. We'd cleared it out months ago to save money, but he believed me. They left to check it. That's when we ran. Dante processed this, his expression unreadable. Finally, he turned to one of his guards. Vincent, get them set up in the East Wing guest room. Post 2 men outside the door. Wait, Mia stood, her legs shaky. You're keeping us here? You have somewhere better to go. We're not prisoners.
No, Dante interrupted.
You're protected. There's a difference. He moved toward the door, then stopped. The men who are hunting you? They work for Mateo Vargas. He's the head of the Chin family's American operations, and as of tonight, he's also trying to kill me. Which means whatever your husband took, it's big enough to start a war. Mia felt the floor tilt beneath her feet. What are you saying? Dante looked back at her, and for the first time, she saw something other than cold calculation in his eyes. I'm saying you picked the right backyard to hide in, Mrs. Chin. Because if Vargas wants you dead, that makes you very interesting to me. He paused at the doorway. Get some rest. Tomorrow, we figure out what your husband died for. Morning light filtered through the curtains of the guest room, but Mia hadn't slept. She'd spent the night watching Noah, making sure he was breathing, checking the locked door every 30 minutes. The bed was softer than anything she'd felt in months, yet she couldn't let herself sink into it. Comfort was dangerous. Comfort made you forget that men with guns were hunting you. Noah stirred, his small hand reaching out in sleep. Even now, he clutched that teddy bear. He'd had it since he was 2, a gift from David before everything went wrong. Before the late nights and the secrets and the fear that had slowly poisoned their lives. A knock at the door made Mia jolt upright. Mrs. Chin, Dante's voice came from the hallway. We need to talk. Mia quickly smoothed her hair, aware of how she must look, dirty, exhausted, broken. She cracked the door open. Dante stood there in a fresh suit, looking like he'd slept 8 hours and had nearly died the night before. Behind him, Vincent held a tray of food. Breakfast, Dante said simply. For both of you. Noah woke at the smell of pancakes. His eyes went wide. Real food, hot food. More than the scraps they'd been surviving on. Mia wanted to refuse on principle, to maintain some shred of dignity, but watching her son's hungry face shattered that resolve. Thank you, she said quietly. Dante entered the room, his presence filling the space. He watched Noah attack the pancakes with a single-minded focus only a starving child could manage. The teddy bear sat beside him on the bed, its one remaining eye staring at nothing. He always carried that thing?
Dante asked.
Ever since David gave it to him, Mia poured herself coffee, her hands still trembling slightly. It's all he is left of his father. Dante moved closer to the bed, his expression thoughtful. May I? May you what? He gestured to the teddy bear. Look at it.
Mia tensed.
Why? Humor me. Something in his tone made her nod. Dante picked up the bear carefully, turning it over in his hands. It was worn, the fur matted from years of being dragged everywhere. One arm had been resewn, the stitching crude but functional. Then Dante went still. When did your husband give this to Noah? He asked, his voice suddenly sharp. I told you. Years ago. When Noah was. No. Dante shook the bear gently. A soft rattling sound came from inside. When exactly? Mia's breath caught. What is that? Dante's fingers found a seam along the bear's back, newer stitching, different thread. Someone had opened this bear and sewn it back up. Recently. Noah, Dante said, his voice surprisingly gentle. Buddy, I need to borrow your bear for a minute. Is that okay? Noah looked up from his pancakes, syrup on his chin, fear in his eyes.
No.
That's mine. I know. I promise I'll give it back. Dante crouched down to Noah's level. But there might be something inside that can help keep you and your mom safe. Would that be okay? Noah looked at Mia, uncertain. She nodded slowly, her heart hammering. With careful fingers, Dante pulled at the newer stitching. The thread came loose easily, too easily. This had been designed to open. Inside the stuffing, wrapped in plastic, was a small black object. A memory card. Mia's hand flew to her mouth. Oh my God. David never mentioned this? Dante asked, holding it up to the light.
No.
Never. I swear. The room spun. All this time, they'd been carrying the answer, running with it, sleeping with it, and she'd had no idea. Dante pocketed the card, his expression grim. This is what they're looking for. What your husband died protecting. He looked at Noah, who was watching with wide eyes. Smart man, your father. Hiding it where no one would think to look. What's on it?
Mia whispered.
I don't know yet. But whatever it is, it's worth enough to kill for. Dante stood, moving toward the door. Vincent, I want you and Marco posted outside this room. No one goes in or out without my authorization. Boss, Marco's not. I know where Marco is. Get him. Dante's tone left no room for argument. He turned back to Mia. Stay here. Don't leave this room. Don't open the door for anyone except me. Understood? Mia nodded, pulling Noah close. The boy had gone quiet, sensing the gravity of what had just happened. Mr. Moretti, she called as he reached the door. What happens now? He paused, his hand on the doorframe. Now I find out what your husband knew. And why Mateo Vargas wants it badly enough to burn this city down. And then... Dante looked back at her, and for a moment, Mia saw something flicker in his eyes. Not quite sympathy, but something close to it. Understanding, maybe. Recognition of two people trapped in a situation neither had chosen. Then I decide whether keeping you alive is worth starting a war. The door closed behind him with a soft click. Mia sank onto the bed, her legs giving out. Noah crawled into her lap, his teddy bear, now lighter, emptied of its terrible secret, clutched against his chest.
Nana.
His voice was small. Are we safe now? Mia held him tight, breathing in the smell of his hair, feeling the rapid beat of his heart against hers. I don't know, baby, she whispered. I really don't know. The decision came 2 hours later. Dante burst back into the room, his face darker than before. Pack whatever you need. We're leaving.
Now. Mia stood, adrenaline spiking.
What happened? My mansion isn't secure anymore. Someone on my team is feeding information to Vargas. He tossed a bag onto the bed. You have 3 minutes. There was nothing to pack. Everything they owned had been destroyed or left behind. Mia grabbed Noah's hand and the teddy bear, evidence removed but still precious, and followed Dante into the hallway. The mansion that had seemed so fortress-like last night now felt like a trap. Every corner held shadows. Every window was a potential sniper position. Vincent and another guard flanked them as they moved quickly through corridors Mia barely remembered from the night before. They emerged into an underground garage. A plain black sedan waited, engine running. Not the armored SUV from last night. This was meant to blend in, disappear. "Get in the back," Dante ordered. "Keep your heads down." The drive took 40 minutes through parts of the city Mia had never seen. Industrial zones gave way to forgotten neighborhoods where buildings wore their decay like badges of honor. Graffiti marked territory. Broken streetlights created pools of darkness. Finally, they stopped in front of a weathered apartment building that looked like it had been abandoned twice and reclaimed once. The kind of place where people minded their own business because asking questions got you hurt. "Top floor," Dante said, leading them upstairs that creaked ominously. "It's not the Ritz, but it's off the grid. Vargas doesn't know about this place." The apartment was small, one bedroom, a kitchen that had seen better decades, a living room with furniture that didn't match. But the locks on the door were new. High-grade deadbolts. The windows had been reinforced with security film. "2 of my men will be posted in the hallway," Dante said, checking each room. "You don't open this door for anyone. Not a delivery person. Not a neighbor. Not a cop. No one except me or Vincent. Clear?" "How long do we have to stay here?" Mia asked, watching Noah explore the small space with cautious curiosity. "As long as it takes," Dante moved to the window, looking down at the street below. "I need to verify what's on that memory card, figure out who I can trust on my team, and find out exactly how deep Vargas's reach goes." Mia joined him at the window. From here, she could see the whole block, the empty lot across the street, the convenience store with bars on the windows, the people who moved like ghosts through the gray morning. "I hate this," she said quietly. "Relying on you. On someone like you." "Someone like me?" Dante's voice held no anger, just curiosity. "A criminal. A killer," she turned to face him. "I know what you are, Mr. Moretti. I've read about you. The Moretti family. Your father. What you do to people who cross you. And yet here you are. Because I have no choice." Dante studied her face. "You always have a choice, Mrs. Chen. You could have gone to the police. Witness protection. The FBI. You think I didn't try?" Mia's voice rose, then dropped again as she glanced at Noah. "The first night we ran, I called 911. The operator took my information, said someone would come. No one ever did. I went to a police station the next day. The officer at the desk made a call, then told me to go home, that I was overreacting." She wrapped her arms around herself. "That's when I knew. When I realized whoever was after us had reach everywhere. Except my backyard." "Except your backyard," she admitted. "Funny how the only person who seems to want to keep us alive is a Mafia boss." A ghost of a smile crossed Dante's face. Life's full of little ironies. Noah appeared in the doorway, holding his teddy bear. "Mama, I'm hungry again." The moment broke. Dante checked his watch. "There's food in the kitchen. Canned goods, pasta, bread. Enough for a few days." He moved toward the door. "I need to go. My men will be outside if you need anything, but try not to need anything." "Wait," Mia's voice stopped him. "The memory card. What if it's nothing? What if David died for something that doesn't even matter?" Dante's expression hardened. "Then a lot of people are about to die for nothing. But I don't think that's the case. Men like Vargas don't mobilize their entire operation over nothing. Whatever your husband took, it's a weapon. The question is whether it's one we can use." You're in this now, Mrs. Chen. The moment that memory card ended up in your son's teddy bear, you became part of the game." He paused at the door. "The only question is whether you survive it." After he left, Mia heard the deadbolts engage from outside. She was locked in for her protection, Dante would say. But a cage was still a cage, even if the bars were meant to keep danger out instead of keeping her in. Noah tugged at her hand.
"Mama?"
"Is that man going to help us?" Mia looked at the door, then at her son's trusting face. She thought about David, about the lies he'd told, the secrets he'd kept, the danger he'd brought into their lives without warning. "I don't know, baby," she said honestly. "But right now, he's all we've got." Dante's private office was soundproof for a reason. He sat in the leather chair behind his mahogany desk, laptop open, the memory card reader blinking as it loaded files. Vincent stood guard at the door. The rest of his men had been dismissed. Trust was a luxury Dante couldn't afford right now. The first file opened, a spreadsheet. Names, dates, shipment numbers. At first glance, it looked like ordinary import-export records. But Dante had been in this business long enough to read between the lines. The quantities were wrong. A container marked for textiles weighing 3 times what fabric should weigh. Electronic shipments with serial numbers that didn't exist. Food products arriving from countries that didn't produce them. Classic smuggling operation. But smuggling what? The second file answered that question. Photographs. Shipping containers being unloaded at night. Wooden crates with Chinese characters stamped on the sides. Men in expensive suits supervising. Men Dante recognized. Mateo Vargas. And beside him, looking pleased with himself, Chen Wei, head of the Chen family's Asian operations. "Son of a bitch," Dante muttered.
Boss.
Vincent stepped closer. Vargas isn't just working with the Chen family. He's partnered with them. Full integration. Dante clicked through more photos. They're bringing in something big. Something that needs this level of coordination. The third file made his blood run cold. A detailed map of the city divided into territories. Red zones marked Moretti control. Blue zones marked Chen family operations. And in green, a color that didn't belong, were neutral territories. Territories that would be green for exactly 1 more month, according to the timeline at the bottom of the document. "They're planning a takeover," Dante said aloud. "Not just of my operations. The entire city. Every family, every organization, every independent operator. They're going to consolidate everything under one umbrella."
When?
Vincent asked. Dante checked the timeline again. 3 weeks. They're moving in 3 weeks. The fourth file was a list of names: politicians, judges, police chiefs, federal agents. Next to each name was a dollar amount. The smallest bribe was 6 figures. The largest was close to 2 million. "They've bought everyone," Dante breathed. "Everyone who matters." But it was the fifth file that changed everything. A video. Dante clicked play. The footage was grainy, clearly shot with a hidden camera. It showed a warehouse late at night. Vargas stood in the center, speaking to someone off camera. The audio was muffled, but Dante could make out enough. "Complete shipment arrives next Wednesday. Military grade. Enough to arm 500 men." The camera panned slightly, revealing the face of the person Vargas was talking to. Dante's heart stopped.
Marco.
His lieutenant. His right-hand man for 8 years. Marco, who'd saved his life twice. Who'd been at his father's funeral. Who Dante had trusted with everything. Once Moretti's eliminated, Marco's voice came through clearly now. The transition will be seamless. The other families will fall in line or be removed. You'll have the city locked down within a month. "And you?" Vargas asked. "I get the Moretti territories. Full control." That was the deal. Vargas laughed. "You really think you can run the Moretti operation? You've been playing second fiddle your whole life, Marco. Don't confuse opportunity with capability. We have an agreement. We have an arrangement. You deliver Moretti, I let you keep breathing. Don't mistake that for partnership." Vargas stepped closer to Marco. "Now, about the courier's wife and kid. Where are they?" "Still looking. She's smarter than we thought. Went to ground. Find them. That memory card has everything: financials, connections, photos, timelines. Everything that could derail this. Find them, or I'll assume you're losing your nerve." The video cut out. Dante sat in silence, the weight of betrayal pressing down on him like a physical thing. 8 years. 8 goddamn years. And Marco had been waiting for the right moment to sell him out.
"Boss."
Vincent's voice was careful. "Your orders?" Dante closed the laptop slowly. His mind was racing, calculating possibilities. Marco could know that Dante had the memory card. He could know that Mia and Noah were in Dante's safe house. Right now, Marco thought he was still playing his game perfectly. That was an advantage. Nothing changes, Dante said finally. Marco doesn't know we know. We keep it that way. You're not going to kill him? Not yet, Dante stood, moving to the window that overlooked the city.
His city, for now.
If I kill Marco, Vargas will know something's wrong. He'll accelerate his timeline and we won't be ready. We need time to prepare. Time to figure out who else on my team is dirty. What about the woman and the kid? Dante thought about Mia, trapped in that safe house with her son, terrified and alone. She'd stumbled into the middle of a war she didn't understand, carrying evidence that could burn the entire operation to the ground. David Chen had been smart, smarter than anyone had given him credit for. He documented everything, created a detailed record of the entire conspiracy, and hidden it where no one would think to look. In his son's teddy bear.
They stay hidden, Dante said.
Marco's going to keep looking for them, which means Vargas's people will too. We need to make sure they never find them. And the memory card? Dante pulled it from the reader, holding the small chip up to the light.
Such a tiny thing.
Barely weighs anything. And yet it contained enough evidence to destroy empires. This, Dante said quietly, is going to start a war. The only question is whether we're ready to fight it. Marco arrived at the mansion an hour later, all smiles and concern. Boss, I heard about the attempt on your life. Thank God you're okay. He clasped Dante's shoulder with what looked like genuine relief. Any leads on who ordered it? Dante had to admire the performance. If he hadn't seen that video, he'd believe every word. Nothing solid yet, Dante lied smoothly. But I'm working on it. They were in the garage away from the main house. Dante had specifically chosen this location, neutral ground, fewer cameras, easier to read body language. Marco leaned against a black Mercedes, relaxed and confident. Too confident. I've been thinking, Marco said, lighting a cigarette. Maybe it's time we reached out to the other families. Form an alliance. Show whoever's making moves that we're not isolated. Which families? Dante asked casually, checking his phone. The Russos, maybe. Even the Chin family. I know they're expanding, but that doesn't mean we can't find common ground. There it was. The suggestion to partner with the very people trying to destroy him. The Chun family, Dante repeated. You think they'd deal with us in good faith?
Marcos shrugged.
Money talks. Territory talks.
We've got both.
Vargas might be ambitious, but he's also practical. A war would hurt everyone's bottom line. Dante looked up from his phone, meeting Marco's eyes directly. You sound like you've given this a lot of thought. Just trying to look out for the family, boss. Like always. The word family tasted bitter in Dante's mouth now. He thought about 8 years of loyalty, or what he believed was loyalty. Late nights planning operations. Splitting profits. Trusting Marco with his life. All of it a lie. I appreciate that, Dante said. But I need to handle this my way. Reaching out now would look weak. Like we're scared. Are we? Marco's tone was still light, but his eyes were sharp. Scared, I mean? Should we be? A moment of tension hung between them. Then Marco laughed, breaking it. Of course not. You're Dante Moretti. You've survived worse than some assassination attempt. That's right, Dante said quietly. I have. Marco pushed off the Mercedes. Listen, I've got a meeting downtown. Supplier issue. But I'll be back tonight. We should go over security protocols, maybe rotate the guards. Someone clearly knew your schedule last night. Good idea. See you tonight. As Marco walked away, Dante felt Vincent's presence behind him. He's going to report back to Vargas, Vincent said quietly. Tell him you don't suspect anything. I know. Dante watched Marco's car pull out of the garage. Let him. The more confident they feel, the sloppier they'll get. Boss, with all due respect, keeping him close is dangerous. He's already tried to have you killed once. That wasn't him. That was Vargas testing the waters, seeing if they could take me out clean. Dante turned away from the garage entrance. Marco wants it to look natural. An accident, maybe. Or a gang hit that can't be traced back to him. That's why he's still here, still playing his part. He needs to be close when it happens. Vincent's jaw tightened. So, what's the play? We watch him. 24/7 surveillance. I want to know everywhere he goes, everyone he talks to, every call he makes. And we keep our real plans away from him. Dante headed toward his office. Also, pull the files on everyone in the inner circle. I need to know if Marco's working alone, or if he's got help. You think there are others? I think Marco's smart, but not smart enough to plan this himself. Vargas must have approached multiple people, planted seeds, made promises. We need to find out who else took the bait. Back in his office, Dante made a call. Not to any of his usual associates, but to a number he hadn't dialed in years. Romano speaking. It's Moretti. A pause.
Dante.
Heard someone tried to ventilate your skull last night. Shame they missed. Antonio Romano ran the city's oldest independent operation. Bookmaking, gambling, some light extortion. He and Dante had a complicated history, but Romano was old school. He respected boundaries, honored agreements, and despised the Chin family for trying to muscle into territories that weren't theirs. I need information, Dante said. Vargas is making moves. Big ones. Have you heard anything? Plenty. Vargas has been offering deals all over the city. Fold into his operation peacefully. Keep your cut. Avoid bloodshed. Those who refuse get visited by men with foreign tattoos and bad attitudes. How many have folded? More than you'd think. The Chin family's got deep pockets and deeper connections.
People are scared, Dante.
They think this is the future, and they want to be on the winning side. Dante gripped the phone tighter. What about you? Romano laughed, a rough sound. I'm too old to bend the knee to some upstart. But I'm also too old to fight a war. I'm staying neutral, keeping my head down, hoping this blows over without blowing up my operations. It won't blow over. Vargas wants everything. Neutral doesn't exist in his world. Then I guess we're all screwed. Romano's tone shifted. Why are you really calling, Dante? You need an ally. I need to know if you've heard anything about a courier. David Chun. Worked for Pacific Imports. Died 2 months ago. Another pause, longer this time. Yeah, I heard about that.
Word on the street is he stole something.
Evidence of some kind. Vargas has been tearing the city apart looking for it. He won't find it. You have it. Romano's voice dropped.
Jesus, Dante.
That's a death sentence. Only if Vargas knows I have it. Dante looked at the memory card sitting on his desk. Right now, I'm the only person who knows what's really happening. And I plan to keep it that way. 3 days passed in tense silence. Mia felt like a caged animal in the safe house. The walls pressed closer each day, the single window her only connection to the outside world. Noah was restless too, asking when they could go home, not understanding there was no home left to return to. When Dante finally appeared on the 4th morning, Mia practically lunged at him. I need to get some things from our apartment, she said before he could speak. Clothes for Noah.
Some of his toys.
Maybe some photos. Absolutely not. Please, the word came out more desperate than she intended. I know it's dangerous, but we left everything. He doesn't even have clean clothes. I can't keep washing the same outfit in the sink. Dante studied her face, and Mia could see him calculating risks. Your apartment has been ransacked. There's probably nothing left. Then, at least I'll know for sure. Please, Mr. Moretti. We can't just hide here forever. Actually, that's exactly what you need to do. For how long?
Weeks?
Months. Mia's voice rose. Noah's 6 years old. He needs structure, normalcy, something other than these 4 walls and canned soup. Dante was quiet for a long moment. Then he sighed, a sound of resignation.
Fine.
But we do this my way. 20 minutes max. You grab what you can carry, and we leave. My men will clear the building first. You don't touch anything that looks suspicious. And if I say run, you run. Understood? Mia nodded, relief flooding through her. The drive across the city felt surreal. Mia hadn't realized how much she'd missed just seeing the outside world. The traffic, the people, the normalcy of life continuing despite everything. Noah pressed his face against the window, watching it all with wide eyes. Her apartment building looked smaller than she remembered.
Sadder.
The door to her unit still hung at an angle where Vargas's men had kicked it in. Wait here, Dante ordered, his hand on his gun. Vincent and another guard entered first, sweeping each room. After what felt like an eternity, Vincent appeared in the doorway. Clear. The destruction took Mia's breath away. Every drawer had been emptied, every cushion sliced open, every picture frame smashed. They'd torn her life apart looking for something she hadn't known existed. 20 minutes, Dante reminded her. Mia moved quickly through the wreckage. She found some of Noah's clothes in a pile, a few toys that had survived the ransacking. In her bedroom, she discovered a photo album buried under the mattress. Pictures of David, of Noah as a baby, of happier times that felt like they'd happened to someone else. Mama, look. Noah held up a toy car, one of his favorites. They didn't break it. That's great, baby. Put it in the bag. Dante stood in the doorway, watching the street below through the broken window. 10 minutes. Mia grabbed more clothes, toiletries, anything that might make the safe house feel less like a prison. She was shoving items into a duffel bag when she heard it, a car door slamming outside. Then another. Dante's entire body went rigid. We're leaving.
Now.
I'm not done.
Now.
He grabbed her arm, pulling her toward Noah. Vincent, back exit. Go. They rushed toward the hallway, but Vincent stopped short. Boss, we've got movement on the fire escape. How many? At least 4. They're surrounding the building. Dante cursed, pulling his gun. The roof. We go up, cross to the adjacent building, down their stairwell. They ran up narrow stairs, Noah clutched in Mia's arms, the duffel bag forgotten. Behind them, Mia heard the apartment door burst open again, heard shouting in a language she didn't understand. The roof access was locked. Vincent kicked it once, twice. The door flew open just as gunfire erupted from the stairwell below. Cold air hit Mia's face as they burst onto the roof. The adjacent building was only 8 feet away, but it felt like miles. Between them was empty space and a 4-story drop to concrete. Jump, Dante ordered. Are you insane? I can't. More gunfire.
Closer now.
Vincent returned fire down the stairwell, buying them seconds. I'll go first with Noah, Dante said, already moving. Then you. Don't think. Just jump. Before Mia could protest, Dante scooped Noah up. The boy screamed as Dante took 3 running steps and leaped. For a heart-stopping moment, they were airborne. Then Dante landed hard on the other roof, rolling to absorb the impact, Noah protected in his arms. Your turn, he shouted. Mia looked back. Men were coming up the stairs. She saw the first one emerge onto the roof, young, tattooed, holding a gun that was pointed directly at her. She jumped. The world tilted. For a second that lasted forever, Mia felt nothing but air beneath her feet. Then Dante's hands caught her arms, yanking her forward. She crashed into him, both of them tumbling across the tar roof. Move. Vincent was the last to cross, landing just as bullets tore into the roof edge where he'd been standing. They ran across the second building, down its stairs, into an alley that smelled like garbage and desperation. Dante's car screeched around the corner, a different driver, someone he'd clearly positioned for exactly this scenario. They piled in. The car took off before the door was even fully closed. Mia held Noah tight, both of them shaking. She could feel her son's heart racing against her chest, could hear her own blood pounding in her ears. How did they know? She gasped. How did they know we'd be there? Dante's face was dark with fury. because someone told them. The cabin was 2 hours north, hidden in the mountains where cell service died, and the nearest neighbor was 5 miles away. Dante had barely spoken during the drive. His jaw was clenched so tight Mia thought it might crack. Noah had fallen asleep in her arms, exhausted by terror and adrenaline. She envied him the escape of unconsciousness. Snow began falling as they turned onto an unmarked dirt road. The cabin appeared through the trees, small, rustic, with smoke already rising from the chimney. Someone had been here preparing it. "Who else knows about this place?" Mia asked as they pulled up. "3 people, and I trust them with my life." Dante killed the engine. "We'll be safe here, at least for tonight." Inside, the cabin was warm. Simple furniture, a stone fireplace, a kitchen stocked with supplies. Vincent did a perimeter check, while Dante got a fire going. Mia laid Noah down on the couch, covering him with a thick blanket. "There's a bedroom upstairs," Dante said, not looking at her. "You and the kid can take it. I'll stay down here." "Thank you." The words felt inadequate. "For what you did today. On that roof. You could have." "Don't." His voice was sharp. "Don't thank me. This is my fault." "How is it your fault?" Dante finally looked at her, and the anger in his eyes took her breath away. "Because someone on my team told Vargas exactly where we'd be. Someone I trusted knew we were going to that apartment, and they sold us out. 3 people knew: Vincent, myself, and Marco." "You think it was Marco?" "I know it was Marco." Dante stood, pacing like a caged wolf. "He's been working with Vargas for months, maybe years. Playing both sides, waiting for his moment. And I was too blind to see it." Mia watched him move, this dangerous man who'd saved her life twice now. "What are you going to do?" "What I should have done days ago. End him." The words were cold, final. Mia should have been horrified, but all she felt was tired. Tired of running, of hiding, of watching her son grow more frightened each day. "I used to think everything was black and white," she said quietly. "Good people and bad people. Heroes and villains. I worked at a nonprofit, helped families find housing, food, medical care. I thought I was making the world better." She laughed bitterly. "Then David died, and suddenly none of that mattered. All those good deeds didn't protect us. The police I thought would help looked the other way. The system I believed in abandoned us." Dante stopped pacing. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because you're the only person who's treated us like we matter. A mafia boss has shown more humanity than everyone else combined." Mia met his eyes. "I've spent my whole life hating people like you. Criminals. Killers. And now you're the only reason my son is still breathing." Outside, the snow was falling harder. Vincent came in stamping his boots, announced the perimeter was secure, and positioned himself by the front window. The cabin settled into quiet, broken only by the crackling fire. Hours passed. Noah woke long enough to eat soup, then fell back asleep. Mia tried to rest but couldn't. Every sound made her jump. The wind against the windows, the settling of old wood, the distant call of something in the dark forest. Near midnight, she found Dante on the small back porch, watching the snow fall. He'd shed his jacket despite the cold, his shirt sleeves rolled up, revealing scarred forearms. "Can't sleep either?" he asked without turning. "Every time I close my eyes, I see that man pointing his gun at me." Mia hugged herself against the cold. "How do you live like this? Always looking over your shoulder, never trusting anyone." "You get used to it. Do you?" She stepped closer. "Or do you just pretend you do?" Dante was quiet for a long moment. Snow accumulated on the porch railing, pristine and peaceful, the opposite of everything their lives had become. "My father used to bring me here," he said finally, "when I was Noah's age. Before everything got complicated. Before the business consumed him." He leaned against the railing. "I remember thinking how quiet it was. How safe. Like the rest of the world couldn't touch us up here. Do you wish you could go back? To before?" Every single day, the admissions seemed to surprise him. "I wish I could live without watching every shadow, suspecting every friend, calculating every conversation. Just for a month." just to remember what it feels like to be normal. Mia understood that longing more than he knew. David wasn't always involved in this world. When we met, he was just a logistics coordinator. Boring, stable, safe. Then the money got tighter. Noah was born. Medical bills piled up, she trailed off. I don't know when he crossed the line. When he decided whatever he was doing was worth the risk. I just know it cost him everything. He was trying to protect you, Dante said. That memory card, he documented everything as insurance. If anything happened to him, if the truth came out, it would bring down everyone involved. That's why Vargas is so desperate to find it. And now you have it. Now I have it, Dante confirmed. Which means I can destroy Vargas, Marco, the entire operation. Or I can use it as leverage, broker piece, save lives. What are you going to do? Dante turned to face her fully. In the dim light from the cabin, his features were softer somehow. More human. Whatever keeps you and Noah alive, he said simply. Everything else is secondary. Marco knew something was wrong. Dante had been too quiet, too distant. The boss who usually trusted him with everything was now holding cards close to his chest. Phone calls were made behind closed doors. Meetings happened without Marco's knowledge. And that business with the apartment. How had Dante known to get out so fast? Someone had tipped him off. Or worse, Dante was testing him. Marco sat in his car outside a warehouse on the east side, weighing his options. He'd worked 8 years to get this close, to become indispensable. Now everything was unraveling, and he needed to salvage the situation before Vargas decided he was more liability than asset.
His phone rang.
Vargas. Tell me you have good news, Vargas said, without preamble. I'm working on it. Working on it?
My men almost had them at the apartment.
Then Moretti shows up like he knew we were coming. You said you had him under control.
Ido.
He doesn't suspect. He suspects everything, you idiot. That's how he survived this long. Vargas's voice was ice. I'm starting to think you've lost your nerve. Or worse, that you're playing both sides. Marco's grip tightened on the phone. I've given you everything. Access to his operations, his schedule, his security protocols. I've risked my life for this deal. And you'll lose your life if you don't deliver. The woman and the kid, Marco. Where are they? I don't know. Dante moved them, didn't tell me where. Then find out. You're his lieutenant. Act like it, Vargas paused. Unless you'd rather I send men to visit that sister of yours in Boston. What's her name again? Christina? Marco's blood went cold. You leave her out of this. Then give me something useful. You have 24 hours to find that woman and child, or Christina gets a visit from some very unfriendly people. The line went dead. Marco sat in the darkness, hatred burning in his chest. Not for Dante, he'd made peace with betraying him months ago. But for Vargas, who treated him like a disposable tool instead of a partner. He made a decision. If Dante had moved Mia and Noah somewhere secret, there were only a few people who would know. Vincent, definitely. Maybe Tony, who handled the safe houses. And Dante himself, obviously. Vincent was too loyal. He'd die before giving up information. Tony was possible but risky. Which left one option. Force Dante's hand. Marco pulled up a contact on his phone. Jimmy Chun, one of Vargas's most trusted enforcers. I need a team. 6 men, heavily armed. And I need them to look like cops. What are you planning? Insurance, Marco said. Meet me at the mansion in 1 hour. At the cabin, Mia woke to the sound of her phone buzzing. She'd forgotten she even had it. The battery had died days ago, and she'd left it in her jacket pocket. But someone had plugged it in overnight. Probably Dante, preparing for exactly this moment. 17 missed calls. All from the same unknown number. She answered the 18th call. Mrs. Chun, the voice was smooth, accented. My name is Mateo Vargas. I believe we have something to discuss. Mia's heart stopped. She looked around frantically. Dante was outside with Vincent. Noah was still asleep upstairs. How did you get this number? I have resources you can't imagine. But that's not important right now. What's important is that you have something that belongs to me, and I want it back. I don't know what you're talking about. Please don't insult my intelligence. Your husband stole sensitive information before his unfortunate accident.
I know Dante Moretti has it.
And I know he's protecting you. Vargas's tone remained pleasant, which made it more terrifying. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to tell me where you are, and I'm going to send men to collect you and your son.
Peacefully.
No one gets hurt. And if I refuse, then things get very unpleasant for everyone you've ever cared about. I already have people watching your sister in Sacramento. Nice house, by the way. Beautiful garden. Would be a shame if something happened to it. Mia felt the world tilt. Her sister, Emily. Her 2 nieces. You wouldn't. I would. I will. Unless you cooperate, Vargas paused. You have 1 hour to call me back with your location. After that, I start making examples of your family members. Starting with Emily and her daughters. The line went dead. Mia stood frozen, phone trembling in her hand. Through the window, she could see Dante and Vincent talking near the tree line. They looked calm, unaware that everything had just changed. She thought about Emily, who'd beg her to move in after David died. Emily, who'd offered to take Noah while Mia got back on her feet. Emily, who had nothing to do with any of this and was now in danger because Mia had trusted the wrong person.
Or had she?
Dante had kept them alive when everyone else wanted them dead. But he'd also drawn them deeper into this war. Every day with him was another day closer to violence, to death, to losing Noah. Maybe Vargas was right. Maybe cooperation was the only way to keep everyone safe. Mia looked at her phone, at the unknown number that could save or destroy everything. She had 59 minutes to decide who to trust, the Mafia boss who'd shown her unexpected humanity, or the crime lord who promised to leave her family alone. Her finger hovered over the callback button. Mia's hand was shaking so badly she nearly dropped the phone. She didn't press call back. Instead, she ran outside into the snow. Dante. He spun around, gun already drawn. When he saw her face, his expression darkened. What happened? Vargas called. He knows about my sister. He's threatening to kill her and her daughters if I don't tell him where we are. The words tumbled out in a panic. He gave me an hour. That was 5 minutes ago. Dante's jaw clenched. He's bluffing. What if he's not? What if? Vincent, Dante turned to his guard. Call Sacramento PD. Anonymous tip about a threat to Emily Chen's residence. Get patrol cars on her street now. Then call our contact at the FBI field office. I want protective custody arranged within the hour. Vincent was already on his phone, moving away to make the calls. Mia stared at Dante. You knew about my sister? I know everything about you, Mrs. Chen. The moment you showed up on my property, I had your entire life researched. Family, friends, employment history, bank accounts, parking tickets. I needed to know who you really were. She should have been angry at the invasion of privacy. Instead, she felt relief that he'd been 3 steps ahead. But what if Vargas? Vargas is playing a psychological game. He wants you scared and desperate. Dante stepped closer. The question is, why call you instead of just taking your sister? Because he doesn't know where you are, and he's running out of time. Time for what? His takeover. Everything is scheduled for 3 weeks from now. He needs that memory card before then, or the entire operation falls apart. Dante pulled out his own phone. Which means Marco must be getting desperate too. As if summoned by the words, Dante's phone buzzed. A text from one of his men at the mansion. Marco here, with unknown crew. Dressed as police. Searching premises. Son of a bitch, Dante breathed. He's making his move. Everything happened fast after that. Vincent confirmed Emily was safe. Patrol cars were already on her street, and FBI agents were en route. But Dante's mansion had been breached. Marco and at least 6 men were tearing through it, looking for any clue to their location. We need to move, Vincent said. If Marco finds anything. He won't. Dante was already texting. But we're not running anymore. Marco wants a confrontation? He's about to get 1 inch. What are you doing?
Mia asked.
Dante looked up from his phone. Ending this. Vincent, get them ready. We're going back to the city. Boss, that's exactly what Marco wants.
I know.
That's why we're doing it my way. Dante showed Vincent his phone. I'm sending Marco a text, telling him I have what Vargas wants, and I'm willing to make a trade. The memory card for guaranteed safety for Mia and Noah. You're giving them the evidence?
Mia couldn't believe it.
I'm giving them a meeting. Dante's smile was cold. At the old shipping warehouse on Pier 17. Neutral ground, no weapons, just a simple exchange. Marco won't believe that. No, but Vargas will make him show up anyway. This is their last chance to get that memory card without burning down half the city looking for it. 2 hours later, they were back in the city. The warehouse was exactly as described. Abandoned, massive, full of shadows and rusted shipping containers. The perfect place for a trap, which is why Dante had chosen it. They're here, Vincent said quietly, watching through binoculars from their position. 12 men, maybe more.
Marco's with them.
So is Vargas. Mia held Noah close in the back of the van. Dante had insisted they come. Vargas needs to see her alive, or he won't deal, but every instinct screamed at her to run. Last chance to change your mind, Vincent said to Dante. The plan stands. Dante checked his gun one more time. Give the signal. Vincent made a call. Within seconds, lights began appearing around the warehouse. Not many, just enough to show they weren't alone. Dante's men, positioned on rooftops, in alleys, behind containers. You really think Marco will let you walk out of there?
Mia asked.
No, Dante said honestly. I think he's planning to kill me the second he has that memory card, which is why I'm not giving him the real 1-inch. He held up a memory card, identical to the one from Noah's bear.
Decoy.
Takes about 10 minutes to figure out it's blank. By then, we'll either be gone or we'll all be dead. He looked at Mia. If things go wrong, Vincent gets you and Noah out. There's a boat waiting at Pier 19. You disappear. New identities, new lives. Everything's arranged. What about you? I'll be fine. I've survived worse, but something in his eyes suggested he didn't believe that. Dante stepped out of the van. Mia watched him walk toward the warehouse entrance, silhouetted against the streetlights. Alone, unarmed except for the decoy memory card, walking into certain betrayal. Why is he doing this? She whispered.
Vincent didn't take his eyes off Dante.
Because that's who he is.
He protects people.
Even when it costs him everything. Inside the warehouse, Mia could hear voices echoing. Dante's, calm and controlled. Marco's, eager and sharp. And Vargas's, smooth as poison. The negotiation had begun. Then, cutting through the careful words. Now. Gunfire erupted. The warehouse lit up with muzzle flashes. Men shouted. Glass shattered.
Go!
Vincent yelled, but Mia couldn't move. She could only watch the warehouse, praying that Dante Moretti's luck hadn't finally run out. The gunfire lasted 90 seconds that felt like 90 years. Vincent had pulled Mia and Noah down behind the van, shielding them with his body. Through the gap beneath the vehicle, Mia could see the warehouse entrance, smoke, shadows, the flash of weapons in the dark. Then, sudden silence. Stay here, Vincent ordered, drawing his weapon. No, but he was already moving, joining the other men converging on the warehouse. Mia held Noah tight, his face pressed against her shoulder, so he couldn't see. Her heart hammered so hard she thought her ribs might crack.
Minutes crawled by.
Then she heard footsteps, running uneven. Dante emerged from the smoke. He was limping, blood seeping through his shirt sleeve, but alive. Behind him, Vincent and 2 others dragged someone between them. Not Marco. Someone else. One of Vargas's men, unconscious or dead. Mia couldn't tell. Go, 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 Dante shouted. They piled into vehicles. Tires screeched. The warehouse fell away behind them, and Mia finally allowed herself to breathe. What happened? She gasped. Dante pressed a hand to his bleeding arm. Marco brought 12 men. I brought 30. The math worked in our favor. He looked back at the warehouse. But Vargas got away. And so did Marco. I don't understand. You had them surrounded. I had them outgunned. Different thing, Dante winced, as the van hit a pothole. They had an exit strategy one didn't account for. Tunnels under the warehouse. Old maintenance passages from when the pier was operational. By the time my men figured it out, they were gone. Vincent handed Dante a first aid kit from under the seat. We got 3 of his men. They're being questioned now. It won't matter, Dante said, wrapping his arm with gauze. Vargas knows I'm not giving up that memory card. And Marco knows his cover is blown. They're going to escalate. Hit harder, faster, without mercy. So, what do we do? Mia asked. Dante met her eyes. We end it.
Permanently.
They drove to a different safe house, a high-rise apartment downtown with security and sightlines. Once inside, Dante pulled out the real memory card, the one that had been hidden in Noah's bear, the one that contained enough evidence to destroy entire criminal empires. I've been thinking about this all wrong, he said, turning it over in his fingers. I thought I could use this as leverage. Force Vargas to back off, broker some kind of peace. But that's not how this works. As long as this exists, you'll never be safe. Vargas will hunt you until he's dead or you are. So, what are you saying? I'm saying the only way to free you is to make this worthless. Dante moved to the kitchen, where Vincent had set up a laptop. I'm going to copy the most critical files, just enough to protect my own operations, and then destroy the rest. Without the full evidence, Vargas can't execute his takeover. The other families won't trust him. His partners will abandon him. He becomes just another crime boss instead of the future king of the city. But that evidence could put him in prison, Mia protested. End this for good. You think the cops Vargas has paid off would arrest him? The judges he owns would convict him. Dante shook his head. The legal system doesn't work for people like us, Mrs. Chen. Justice happens in the streets, in the shadows. This is the only way. He started the laptop, inserted the memory card. Files began copying, financial records, just enough to show which politicians and cops were dirty, just enough to protect the Moretti operation from being absorbed. What about Marco? Vincent asked. Dante's expression went cold. Marco made his choice. He could have come to me, told me about Vargas's offer, and we could have dealt with it together. Instead, he tried to have me killed. Sold me out. Put innocent people in danger. He looked at Mia and Noah. There's only one way that ends. You're going to kill him, Mia said quietly. No, Dante pulled the memory card from the laptop, holding it up to the light. I'm going to exile him. Make him leave the city, leave the life, disappear. Because killing him makes me no better than Vargas. And I'm trying very hard not to be that person anymore. The admission hung in the air between them. Dante moved to the window overlooking the city, his city, the one he'd fought for, bled for, killed for. My father used to say that power is about who you're willing to sacrifice. He sacrificed everything. His family, his humanity, his soul. All for control. He turned back to face Mia. I thought I understood that. I thought I was willing to pay that price. But then you showed up in my backyard, and I remembered something I'd forgotten. What? That some things are worth protecting even when it costs everything. He walked to the kitchen sink, turned on the water, and dropped the memory card into the garbage disposal. Wait! Mia lunged forward, but Dante had already flipped the switch. The disposal roared to life, grinding metal and plastic into fragments. It's done, he said over the noise. The evidence is gone. Vargas has nothing to chase. You and Noah are free. But you, Mia's voice caught. You just destroyed your leverage, your protection. How are you going to survive what comes next? Dante smiled, and it was the saddest thing Mia had ever seen. I guess we'll find out. 1 week later, Mia stood in a small house overlooking the Pacific Ocean. It wasn't much. 2 bedrooms, a kitchen that had seen better decades, a porch that creaked when you walked on it. But the doors had new locks. The windows faced the sea instead of alleys. And most importantly, no one knew they were here. The documents had arrived 3 days ago. New birth certificates, social security cards, driver's license. Mia Chen no longer existed. She was now Sarah Mitchell, widow, relocating for a fresh start. Noah was now Ethan Mitchell. Their entire history had been erased and rewritten. "Mama, look." Noah, Ethan, called from the beach below. He was building a sandcastle, his teddy bear perched on a rock nearby. The bear was lighter now, emptied of its deadly secret, just a toy again. Mia watched her son really play for the first time in months. The fear was slowly leaving his eyes. The nightmares were becoming less frequent. They were healing, inch by painful inch. A car pulled up outside. Mia's hand instinctively moved toward the kitchen knife she'd started keeping close. Old habits died hard. But it was Vincent who stepped out, carrying a box of groceries. "Mr. Moretti wanted to make sure you were settling in," he said, setting the box on the porch. "He also sent this." He handed her an envelope. Inside was a bank card and a note in Dante's angular handwriting, enough for 6 months. "After that, you're on your own. Stay safe." "DM, how is he?" Mia asked. Vincent's expression was carefully neutral. "Managing." Vargas backed off after the memory card was destroyed. Without the evidence, his partners lost confidence. "The takeover's been postponed, maybe cancelled. The other families are circling, sensing weakness." And Marco.
Gone.
Left the city 2 days after the warehouse. The boss let him walk, but with a message. If he ever comes back, there won't be mercy a second time. Vincent paused. Marco's sister is safe, relocated to Canada. The boss made sure of it. Of course he did. Even in exile, Dante was protecting people. "Will we see him again?" Mia asked, surprised by how much she wanted the answer to be yes. Vincent smiled slightly. "He said to give you this too." Another envelope, thicker this time. Inside were photos, recent surveillance pictures of Emily and her daughters, safe and happy. A police report showing increased patrols in their neighborhood. Documentation that Emily had received an anonymous donation of $50,000 to her children's college fund. Mia's eyes burned with tears she refused to let fall. "Tell him thank you," she whispered. "For everything. Tell him yourself." Vincent handed her a phone, a burner, untraceable. One number programmed. He said to call if you ever need anything. Or if you just want to talk. After Vincent left, Mia sat on the porch, holding the phone. The smart thing would be to throw it away. Cut all ties. Start completely fresh with no connections to that violent world. But Dante Moretti had shown her that the world wasn't black and white. That criminals could have honor. That killers could choose mercy. That sometimes the monsters were the only ones willing to protect you. She saved the number. That night, after Noah was asleep, she made the call. Mrs. Chin, Dante's voice was exactly as she remembered, controlled, careful, but with warmth underneath. "It's Sarah now," she corrected. "Sarah Mitchell. How's the house?" "Perfect. Quiet. Safe," she paused. "Lonely. That's the price of disappearing. But you'll adjust. Build new connections. Find a community. What about you? Will you adjust?" A long silence. Then, "I'm trying. It's harder than I expected. Knowing Marco betrayed me, wondering who else might. The business feels different now. Heavier." "You could walk away," Mia said. "Like you made Marco do. Just leave." "And do what?" "I've been in this life since I was 15. It's all I know." "Then learn something new." The words came out stronger than she intended. "You told me at the cabin that you wished you could live without bloodshed for just 1 month. So do it. Walk away. Be someone different. It's not that simple." "Yes, it is. It's terrifying and hard, and you'll fail 100 times. But it's simple." Mia looked out at the ocean, at the moon reflecting on black water. "I was a social worker who thought she was married to a logistics coordinator. Now I'm a woman with a fake name living in a beach house bought with Mafia money, and somehow I'm more honest than I've ever been. People change, Mr. Moretti. If they want it badly enough. Another long silence. Then, almost too quiet to hear. Maybe. That's a start. They talked for another hour. About nothing important. The weather, Noah's sandcastles, the ridiculous price of groceries in coastal towns. Normal things. Human things. When they finally said goodbye, Mia didn't know if she'd hear from him again. Maybe this was it. Maybe he'd disappear back into his world, and she'd build her new life here, and they'd become nothing more than a strange chapter in each other's stories. But 3 days later, the phone rang. And the day after that.
And the week after that.
Neither of them made promises. Neither spoke of the future or what this was becoming. But slowly, across miles and phones and the wreckage of their old lives, something grew. Not romance. Nothing so simple. But connection. Understanding. The recognition of two people who'd survived darkness and were now tentatively reaching toward light. For the first time in years, Dante Moretti allowed himself to hope. And hope, he was learning, was the most dangerous and beautiful thing of all.
The end.